I am Sonia from An Enthusiastic Reader. It's been 5 months, I guess, just about 5 months since I made my end of the year video. I honestly intend every month, I should do a video, and just have not been able to get myself to do it. I want to thank all the people on Friday who I posted on my community post that I just needed some advice on how to get back into making a video, because I've read a lot of books in 5 months. There's no way I can talk about all of them, and that would just be not fun. So it's like, how do I jump back in? And I got the very nicest advice from the very nicest people, all my booktube friends that I really have followed and still continue to follow and still watch, even though I may not always comment. But I have to thank all those people who reached out in the nicest way and said, just do it. So that's what I'm doing. I guess this video, I'm just going to talk about books, but the elephant in the room is that I think we all have the question, how are we existing in this incredibly tumultuous and scary, terrible time, and still want to reach out, still have community, still talk about the things we love and the things that are helping us to get through. So getting all of those positive comments was just the little push I needed to go ahead and think about making a chatty video just to say hi and maybe talk about a few books that I really enjoyed that I would like to talk about briefly. That's what I'm going to do. I just finished an arc of a book that's coming out on June 3rd called Flashlight by Susan Choi. And this was a really intricate family dynamic story, as well as a piece of historical fiction. There is a family, a mother, a father, and a daughter. The father was born in Japan, ended up living for a time in Korea, and is in the midst of all of the chaos in the aftermath of World War II, and ends up moving to the United States in order to teach at a college. And so this was really his only opportunity that he could find to figure out how to come up through the ranks and form a career in the midst of all of the chaos of the politics of the war. So he knows 3 languages at least. He's very, very bright, but he is very detached from his family. He is separated from his family and meets a woman named Anne who also has her own secrets, and they end up getting married and having a daughter named Louisa. So the whole story is the narratives of these 3 different characters, and the chapters switch back and forth between perspectives of the different characters. The premise of the book is that while visiting Japan, the father drowns, and the daughter Louisa is unconscious and doesn't remember anything that happened to her father, what happened at all. So she is very angry. She has a lot of repression and secrets and secret rage, and her mother also has her own secrets and her own challenges. And on the face of it, none of these characters are particularly likable, but when they come together and you learn and you get to kind of delve into the psyches of each of these characters, you really grow fond of them and are wishing for something for them. And so you're concerned for them. And so there's a lot of compassion that the reader feels for the characters, even though the characters themselves just clash with each other. There were just a lot of very, very poignant observations and moments, and it's kind of a sweeping over the decades story of the characters. And so if you have liked any of other Susan Choi's other novels, and the one I'm thinking of in particular is Trust Exercises, which was a pretty divisive novel that came out a few years ago, set in some different perspectives. It was kind of a puzzle box novel where each narrative built and refuted the narrative from the previous part. So it was different parts, and all the narratives were conflicting with each other, and the reader had to kind of figure out what was going on. So it was pretty divisive. A lot of people did not like it. I was one of the ones who thought it was really quite brilliant and enjoyed it a lot. So I was excited to read this new novel by Susan Choi, where I think yes, again, the stories are clashing with each other. The narratives of each of the characters are conflicting. And so we have to kind of figure out where the truth is in the middle and in the gaps. So if you like a book like that, you might really enjoy Flashlight by Susan Choi. Another book that I really loved, a great read for me, was called Rhineland Journey by Schlee. This was written in 1980, but is set in 1861. And there is a family consisting of a man and his wife and the man's sister, who is unmarried and in her 30s. And then they have a daughter. The man and wife have a daughter. So the main protagonist of the story is the sister. Her name is Charlotte, and this was so good. They are on a pleasure cruise. They are taking a boat journey down the Rhine River in 1861. There is a lot of political upheaval in Germany at the time, but there's an author's note at the beginning that says that these characters who are British really have no idea of what's happening politically in Germany at the time. They are just there for a leisurely cruise down the river, and what comes up for Charlotte especially is her examining her life as the sister of this reverend and his wife, who treat her like a child. She is always forgotten. Her opinions are never valued. They never ask her opinion. They never ask her what she'd like to do. They just use her as kind of a helper in the family instead of as an independent woman with her own thoughts and desires and dreams. And so there's a sexual awakening component. There is a psychological journey for Charlotte as they go down the river, seeing herself, fantasizing about other passengers who are on the cruise, and just really, really facing her fate within this family. It's only 200 pages, but it is packed with incredible writing and incredible psychological insights to the character. And so I would like to talk about a memoir that I read that I first heard about on Hannah's Books. She is doing these incredible recommendations for books that are coming up month to month. She talks about books that are coming out in that month, and I heard about it on her channel. I had not heard about it before. It is called Bibliophobia, written by Sarah Chihaya, and a lot of it is highly relatable. Now, the author is really talking about a lot of mental health issues, and she has a lot of suicidal ideation. And so if that's something that you don't want to read about, that it is in every part of this memoir, where she is suffering from depression her entire life. So she's essentially talking about different authors like Ruth Ozeki and Sylvia Plath and Yi Yoon Lee, and talking about all these different narratives, Anne of Green Gables, how these books at various points in her life become obsessions for her. And I think, Anne Carson also is in there, and how the act of reading, it's not something that's actually helping her with her mental health issues. And in a lot of ways, it's making some of her mental health issues worse, because she gets so obsessed with these different texts. So while it is an extreme reaction of using reading as a coping mechanism, which I think a lot of us do, I know I certainly do, this takes it to an extreme, but it's so fascinating. And then she also does talk about these texts. And so there's some literary criticism kind of woven into her life story and her relationship to words on the page, and as they enter her brain, what they do to her psychologically. So it's very intense and very moving, but I really could relate in certain ways, but certainly not to an extreme as the author did in the memoir. But it was a very strong read for me. I had read a lot of the books that she's talking about, so that made it even more personal. And the fourth book that I'd like to talk about was really probably the most fun of all of the books I've read this year, and it's called Shadowplay by Joseph O'Connor. And this is the fictionalized story of Bram Stoker, which I really knew absolutely nothing about Bram Stoker's life. I I knew he wrote Dracula and, wrote horror novels, but I did not realize that really his main occupation was managing a theater, the Lyceum Theatre in London. So it's also about his relationship with the owner of the theater, who is a renowned actor, and Ellen Terry, who is one of the most renowned actresses of the time that this is set. It's a Victorian novel. It feels Victorian, but it's also quite funny at times. Watching the adventures of running this theater and the plays. There's a ghost in the theater. Bram Stoker is also kind of grappling with his sexuality, and he has a wife, and they are not close, and they have a son, and he is not close at all to his son either. But he is devoted to making this theater work, and also writing his novels in the sideline when he's not busy running the theater, which is always on the brink of ruin. They are always running out of money. They have a lot of problems, but it's funny. It's just the writing is really lively and very descriptive. You really get a sense of the characters, and also probably learn a little bit about history of the time, set in both Ireland and in England at the time. So that was really fun. It definitely makes me want to read more Joseph O'Connor. This is the first book I've read of his that I really enjoyed. I forgot to mention that my War and Peace reading is going really well. That's a project that's happening over on Substack, where we are reading a chapter a day of War and Peace every morning, and I have been very dedicated to that, and also writing a chapter summary every day. So I could look back on all of my chapter summaries and re-experience the novel based on quotes that I'm taking and just like summaries of the plot and my little asides, and that has been incredibly rewarding for me. So if you've ever wanted to attempt something like that, I highly recommend it. Every Tuesday we get a summary of kind of what we've read the week before and put into historical context. So that has been so gratifying and so grounding. It gives me something to look forward to every single day and something to do every day. Also listening to a lot of podcasts. Amy Poehler has a new podcast that is just totally, it's called A Good Hang, and she interviews other people in comedy and people in show business, and that has been really fun. So that's what I have been reading. I mean, I've read 30 books, but these are some of the highlights. And I have been watching videos, and I don't always comment because I feel like sometimes I'm just end up saying the same things over and over again. But I am still very invested in BookTube and the BookTube community, and it means a lot to have something that feels comforting and familiar to go to when things around us, when we watch the news, are just incomprehensible. So I don't know how we walk that fine balance, and we all have to figure it out in our own ways, I guess. But I appreciate you so much responding to my community post the other day, and also for saying hi here. And I hope you're well, and I hope to be back sooner than 5 months from now. I guess that's all I will say for now. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for being a good friend. I hope you're doing well, and I hope to talk to you soon. Bye.